bit like get back in your box, and I was fed up being told to get back in my box. It was time to start fighting back a bit, so that's what we did.
Foster carers in Glasgow are calling for an increase in funding.
Two foster carers from Glasgow have won their legal battle, a landmark ruling for foster carers' rights.
I first heard about the union when there was an advert in a fostering network email saying that there was going to be a meeting in Westminster for foster carers to come along and discuss whether we should unionise or not. Often we're just talked about as if we're just babysitters for these kids and our opinions not asked. Decisions are made about the children without helping us. So I very much felt we needed to be in a position where we could be heard and be listened to.
You're very isolated when you foster. You don't get to meet other foster carers. You don't know who the other foster carers in your area are, who else fosters for Glasgow, or fosters for anybody really.
I think the thing that really kicked off the Glasgow campaign was when the pandemic started and realising quite how alone we were. Absolutely nothing was put in place for us. We had no online support groups, we had all our training stopped, all our visits stopped. It just felt frightening to be left on our own. We had just an open online meeting that we ran as a bit of a support group.
Joining anything at all, even online meetings, you're getting to meet other foster carers and you actually find out that we all have the exact same issues. It's always nice having somebody else that shares the same problems that you've got and somebody else can find a solution that you hadn't thought of. Without having my online union forum and people to speak to, other union members, I think I would have been completely lost at that point.
Everybody was saying the same thing, how much they were struggling, how isolated they felt. From that, the WhatsApp group, we set up the WhatsApp group, and that's been fantastic. Any time of the day or night, if you put down one of the many frustrations about fostering, somebody gets it, they'll reply, but it's a safe space because you know that everybody that's in that group is a union member, that they're trying to do the same things for you, and it just feels very supportive and encouraging.
As soon as we started that, the carers took that fully on board and they started communicating with each other in a way that they had never done before. And that built solidarity and that built communication and that took away fear. Getting rid of the isolation, doing something about that is a very, very, very important aspect of the campaign in Glasgow, and it's built and built and built.
As soon as we all realised that we've got the same issues, we're saying the same things, we're all saying, well, I've mentioned this to my supervising social worker and nothing's happened, that's when we realised that actually we need to be saying it as a group and saying it to somebody further up the chain, because obviously our message isn't getting up. When we first started talking to the councillors who were part of the Integrated Joint Board, who were the group that controlled fostering in Glasgow, and realised some of them knew absolutely nothing about fostering, and some of them weren't really interested in finding out. There was one in particular who was really pivotal in the amount of control she had over our day-to-day lives, but wouldn't meet with us and talk with us.
It just felt to me like she was very, I'm trying to think of a polite word, just complete disinterest in our corporate children, you know.
Well, she had agreed to meet with us, and then 2 days before, a day or two before the meeting, she decided she didn't like the tone of an email that she'd received or been copied into, or somebody had sent her, and so she decided that was it, I'm not going to talk to you. And I just remember thinking, that's so childish. You know, we're a group of people that are doing something invaluable for Glasgow City Council's vulnerable children, and yet we were being dismissed because of a tone of an email. And I just remember thinking, why would you not come and meet with us because of that? It just seemed very childish and petty to me. But also, it was a bit like get back in your box, and I was fed up being told to get back in my box, and it was, you know, and I think a lot of people felt like that. It was time to start fighting back a bit, so that's what we did.
They do get setbacks, but they immediately pick themselves up off the ground and just fire back in again, because they're driven and they're motivated and driven because they're working together now, and they just go, what the hell, we're not going to put up with this, and they just pick themselves up and fire right off again. So in a way it's brilliant, you know. It's like a setback, it's a setback, but it's a motivator to do something. You know, we're not going to put up with this, we're not going to be maligned like this.
After Mary refused to engage with us, I don't know who thought of the idea, but we made up some leaflets and things, and we decided just to leaflet her area where she was standing for election. Went round chapter door, spoke to everybody all about her, all about how hard fostering was, the difficulties we have, how she had no interest in it whatsoever. So yeah, we just rallied round and made her listen, basically.
I was nervous about the leafleting because I'd done a lot of other things before in my previous role with the union, but there was something about knocking on people's doors that did terrify me a bit. So I went, we kind of got paired up, so I went with somebody, and after the first couple it was absolutely fine because I realised that people were really responsive to what they were saying. They didn't realise quite how bad our situation was. Everybody was very supportive, and I do remember after the first big leafleting session we all went to a local cafe and sat and had lunch, and it was such a great atmosphere because we just felt, yes, we've really made a difference, we've spoken to people, and that was brilliant. By that election she lost her seat, and I think that was when I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, actually we do have a bit of power. And it wasn't about targeting her because she was, but it was about, you're elected to do something. We went and spoke to the people in her ward and they didn't re-elect her, and thought, well, maybe some people are listening to us, even if the councillors aren't, if all the councillors aren't, some people are. So that, for me, that was a huge moment.
I remember very clearly the day that she didn't get her seat back and we were quite jolly. We all quite enjoyed hearing that view, I have to say.
Well, being a foster carer now, having joined the union, I would say maybe nearly a year ago I joined it, I feel much more confident. The first time that I was going down to join a campaign at George Square at the City Chambers, I was a bit nervous because I was unsure how many people would be there, would there be any media there. I didn't want to be on the news or anything like that, but once I got there, saw the other carers there and union members there, the strength in just being amongst other people, not isolated on your own. We were all together, united together, and it was good.
We had a hustings before the last local elections and it was really positive. We had representatives from all the parties who came to talk about it, and we had foster carers from all across the city. One of the things we were really pushing for was a way of getting our voice heard, and it was at the summit it was at the hustings that they agreed to hold the summit.
We had a summit, that was something that never happened before, so the council had to listen to us. We're now not just through the door, we're in the room.
It was a very powerful event because lots of carers got together and told their story, and councillors were able to hear what we had to say.
We stood up, we had interventions, and we made our voice heard.
We have not been allowed to participate in the agenda or to get up and address the whole room, so that's why we're having to do it this way. Look after us so we can look after them.
Their confidence has gone from zero to very, very, very confident. It's just like watching, it's almost like watching an individual come into some sort of organisation who just sits at the back of the room and never says anything, and then suddenly they're at the front of the room making a speech, and that's what they're all like. They're all like that. They're all gained in confidence. It's fantastic. It's really, really encouraging to see that.
It might have felt, I think in the very beginning it felt like a really big mountain to climb, but here we are a couple of years in. We've got councillors all over Glasgow that have listened to our story, that are working on our behalf. We've managed to get a 10% increase in our fees. We've managed to get an increase in the under 10s allowances. We're still working on the over 10s allowances, and we actually feel as if we're making some progress now.
I just feel now there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Things are beginning to happen. You can feel the movement has grown within the union. We're getting more and more members. People are not as frightened now to join the union.
Now I would say people are actually listening to you now. You can phone up, you can email a councillor, you can call a meeting with them. People are actually listening, they're actually interested in the conditions for your children and for yourselves. And I think that the tide is turning.
I feel that I'm now part of a team. Now I've got a support network on my phone 24/7, and I feel part of something. I feel together we can be really strong and fight to make a difference.
We fully intend to keep going. We're just not going to shut up. The Glasgow Cairns is not going to shut up. We're going to keep campaigning, we're going to get our voice heard no matter what, because we just can't, we can't put up with the situation. There's a crisis looming. We're the messenger. We're flagging this up. No one else is. We're doing a good job. We're doing it for foster care. We're doing it for the kids. We're doing it for the system. We're just going to keep campaigning. We're not going to give up.
Glasgow has shown us that it is possible. Let's use this example to inspire positive change across the UK. Every single foster carer has the power to start taking steps to bring about change in your area. All it takes is the desire to step up. The Blanche is here to support you on your journey, so get in touch with us today to get started.